Good evening, baseball fans, and welcome to this week's recap of the Historical Baseball Project 1993 replay featuring the Cincinnati Reds and the Texas Rangers. My name is Dave Little, and we are coming to you via recording from the Dave Cave with this special broadcast brought to you by the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network. And it has been, as always, a fun week in the Historical Baseball Project as we work the Reds and the Rangers through the 1993 season. So let us jump into the statistics effective at the beginning of the week's play. This week's games covered the dates of June the 16th through the 30th. So we are finishing June. What I'm showing here at the beginning is the statistics effective through the end of June 15th. So before this week's games started, this is what the league looked like. Here we see the Cincinnati Reds coming into the week at 32 and 33. And they have fallen below 500 and really fallen off the pace of the Braves and Giants at the top of the division as we would have expected. This was not a stellar Reds ball club in 1993, but they would get better in 94 and 95 in particular. We've still got Kevin Mitchell on top of the league with a .376 batting average. That will change as Mitchell is running over his at-bats pace for the season at this point. He only had on the season in 1993 a total of less than 350 at-bats. So even if we stretch him out to his 125% allotment for the Historical Baseball Project, he will not get enough at-bats or enough plate appearances on the season to qualify for the batting crown. So although he's at .376 now, we are going to rest him probably for the month of June. We're resting him for the month of June, and we'll have to rest him later in the year as well. And not surprisingly, the Reds play a lot better when Mitchell is in the lineup. On the pitching side of the ledger, Tim Belcher had a rough outing last week and fell out of the top six in the ERA lead. None of the Reds are setting the world on fire in terms of victories. But Jeff Reardon is still third in the league with 15 saves. In terms of the team statistics, there's Mitchell, .376, 13 home runs, and 41 RBIs. Among the other full-time players, Hal Morris coming in at .305, having a nice year. Good power numbers for Reggie Sanders with 11 home runs and 34 RBIs, despite just a .258 batting average. Barry Larkin and Roberto Kelly are on the upswing with their batting averages. And for the pitching, Jose Rijo, nice ERA, 3.42, still just 5-4 on the season as he has pitched into some tough luck. Just the opposite of Tim Pugh, who was quite a mediocre pitcher in 93 for the Reds. I believe his ERA was over 5, but he has caught lightning in a bottle with 6 wins to lead the team and a 3.73 ERA. With Tim Belcher, they're also at 5 wins and 4 losses. Very similar numbers to what we see with Rijo. And of course, Jeff Reardon continues to be solid. 3.07 ERA, 3-3, 15 saves on the season. And among the other relievers, Greg Cadaret, who is sitting out this month, has a nice 2.9 ERA. And here comes Dibble, 11.81. His ERA was way up in the high fives for 1993, and he only pitched less than 50 innings. He pitched 42 innings and came in with an ERA of 6.48 on the season. So we're using him in situations where the game is long over with one way or the other. So that is where we stand with the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds this week played 9 games at home. So let's take a look at those. The Reds started off with a 3-game set against the San Francisco Giants. And on June 15th, the first-place Giants rolled into Cincinnati and jumped on the Reds, putting up 5 runs in the top of the first on 5 singles and 2 walks off of Tim Pugh. They scored 4 of those 5 runs after 2 men were out. The Reds picked up 3 unearned runs in the bottom of the first off of Jeff Brantley, but the Giants' offense kept rolling and the outcome was never really in doubt. All 9 starters for San Francisco collected hits, including Brantley. They were paced by Willie McGee with 2 hits and 2 RBI in the opener. The hit parade continued for the Giants in Game 2 on June 16th as they rolled to a 9-2 victory. Matt Williams belted 2 home runs, including a 3-run shot in the first inning. Williams finished 4 for 5 on the day with 3 runs and 4 RBI in support of Bill Swift, who picked up his 10th win with a nice pitching performance. Barry Larkin and Chris Sabo each committed 2 errors in that game, uncharacteristically for the Reds. On June 17th, the Reds got a dramatic victory to avoid the sweep. Roberto Kelly hit a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 8th inning to tie the game, and the Reds won it in the 9th on a walk-off single by Jacob Brumfield. Brumfield getting a lot of playing time, spelling Kevin Mitchell this month. The game started off as a pitcher's duel between Tim Belcher and John Burkett. The score was tied at 2 through 5 innings. In the 6th, Belcher walked the first 2 Giants batters, and both men scored to put San Francisco up 4-2 before Kelly's 2-run blast tied it in the 8th, and Brumfield singled home the game winner in the 9th. So the Giants come into Cincinnati and take 2 out of 3. And next into town was the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the Dodgers also put a hurting on the Reds. This series opened up with 2 complete game shutouts for the Dodgers, Tom Candiotti and Ramon Martinez. And on June 18th, it was a 2-hit shutout by Candiotti and home runs by Mike Piazza and my favorite baseball player of all time, Eric Davis, now wearing Dodger blue, went deep for LA in his former ballpark as the Dodgers took the 4-0 win. On June the 19th, it was another shutout for the Dodgers. This time it was Ramon Martinez who did the trick. And this was a weird one. Martinez went a complete game, 9 hits and a walk. The Reds had base runners in every inning. So there was not a 1-2-3 inning in this game for Martinez whatsoever. But the Reds never got more than 1 runner on base. Cincinnati wasted an outstanding effort from Tom Browning. Browning pitched 7 strong innings, but took the defeat to fall to 2-7. And in this game, both Hal Morris and Jacob Brumfield picked up 3 hits. But the Reds never got more than 1 base runner on base at a time. The one inning that they had 2 men reach base, there was a double play in between. And so there was never a 1-2-3 inning and never more than 1 base runner at a time for the Reds. Very unusual shutout. In Game 3, June 20th, the Reds and Dodgers battled deep into the night. The Reds started slowly and extended their scoring streak against the Dodgers to 22 innings and trailed 2-0 heading into the 5th. Finally, the Reds broke through with a run in the 5th and 3 more in the 6th, tying the game on a home run by Hal Morris and taking their first lead of the series on a 6th inning double by Jacob Brumfield. But the Dodgers weren't finished. They jumped on the Reds closer Jeff Reardon in the 9th for 3 runs to go up 6-4, and it was looking extremely rocky for the Cincinnati squad at that point. A 2-run double by Eric Davis put LA on top, but the Reds came back in the bottom of the 9th against Los Angeles closer Jim Gott. They got a pair of 2-out singles by Chris Sabo and Jacob Brumfield to tie the game and send it into extra innings. With 2 out in the bottom of the 10th, Barry Larkin hit a gapper, and it went for a triple. He had the chance at an inside the park home run, but he was cut down at home plate to end the inning and send it to the 11th. And in the 11th, the Reds finally won it in the 11th when reserve outfielder Thomas Howard led off with a base hit, moved to third on a single by Hal Morris, and scored on a wild pitch by Rick Trolisek to give the Reds their only victory of the series. And once again, as in the Giants series, the Reds had to salvage the third game of the series to avoid the sweep. Finally, on June 29th, the Houston Astros came to town. And in Game 1, it was triumphant. The Cincinnati native Larry Lubers picked up his first victory in historical baseball project action. He came through with 8 solid innings of 7-hit, 2-run baseball. Another local product, Thomas Howard, out of Germantown, Ohio, hit a homer for the Reds. And Reggie Sanders added 2 hits and 4 RBI. So big day for Reggie Sanders, big day for Larry Lubers. The Reds led that one 9-2 going into the 9th, so we threw Rob Dibble out there for an inning, and he finished out the game but allowed 3 runs in the process. And the final score was closer than the game actually indicated. But lo and behold, on June 30th, the Astros came back to win that one 4-2 behind a stellar outing by Mark Portugal. 6 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs. Portugal improved to 9-1 on the season. The Reds started John Roper in that game. He was overmatched, but he kept it close until home runs by Luis Gonzalez and Jeff Bagwell put the Astros on top to stay in the 5th inning. The Reds tried to mount a comeback in the 9th, but Doug Jones came on and coaxed pinch hitter Kevin Mitchell into a game-ending double play to end it. And on the 1st of July, it was a classic pitcher's duel between Pete Harnisch and Tim Belcher, and it was Harnisch who prevailed. Belcher was victimized by a first-inning error charged to Roberto Kelly, which led to 2 unearned runs, and the Reds were immediately down 3-0. Belcher shut out the Astros over 7 innings, but Harnisch had all the runs he would need. Cincinnati managed single runs off Harnisch in the 5th and the 6th, but Harnisch kept the lead until he turned it over to Doug Jones in the 9th for his 10th save. So that is your recap of action in Cincinnati for this week. The Reds go 3-6, and at the end of the fortnight, their record stands at 35-39 through 74 games, and that is dead even with where the Reds were in 1993 after 74 games. So yours truly is no worse of a manager than the combination of Tony Perez and Davey Johnson, who managed the Reds in 93. Perez only lasted 44 games, compiled a record of 20-24, and he was tossed out by Marge Schott in favor of Davey Johnson, but Johnson didn't have any better luck with this 93 team than did Perez. So now let's take a look at the Texas Rangers. As you will recall, the last fortnight, actually you don't recall, because last week's episode of the recap was pulled from YouTube due to technical difficulties. I didn't have the right microphone settings, and the video consisted of a 2-minute intro, 18 minutes of silence, and a 2-minute conclusion. So we pulled that one down. But the Rangers during that fortnight managed to go 2-8, and they fell out of first place, and they fell out of I wouldn't say fell out of contention. They're 33-31 coming into June the 16th. So they have dropped out, and actually California has overtaken Chicago for the top spot in the AL West. But Texas is still in the hunt. Seattle's still in the hunt. It's really a 5-team dogfight here in the West. And Baltimore and New York on top of the East. Looking at the league leaders, Juan Gonzalez is having a tremendous season for Texas. 24 home runs and a .337 batting average. and he would be the talk of baseball if it weren't for a young kid in Seattle by the name of Ken Griffey Jr. Jr. is in the hunt for a triple crown with a .333 batting average and league leading totals in home runs with 26 and RBI with 68. Harold Baines pushing the 400 mark for Baltimore to lead the league in batting average. There are no Rangers anywhere near the top of the league in ERA, wins, or saves. As you know, both Kevin Brown and Kenny Rogers are struggling mightily. Roger Pavlik threw a no-hitter earlier in the season, but has reverted to the mean, and so he's not setting the world on fire either. So no Rangers anywhere near the pitching leaders in the American League, as we might expect. Here are your team stats for the Rangers. Juan Gonzalez leading the team with 24 home runs, 51 RBIs, and a .337 batting average. A sensational year for Juan Gon. Rafael Palmeiro solid, .325 with 14 home runs, 46 RBIs. And the team leader in RBI is actually Dean Palmer, 55 RBIs to go with 20 home runs and a .264 batting average. So these guys can mash, and they will continue to mash throughout the season, and they will go as far as the pitching will take them. And when it comes to pitching, Kevin Brown still at 5-7 with a 4.43 ERA, which compared to his real-life ERA in 1993, Brown came in at 3.59. So he's almost a full point over his real-life ERA. Kenny Rogers is even worse. He had a 4.10 ERA in 93, and he now stands at 5.87 on the replay. And here we see Pavlik 8-2 with a 2.83 ERA, almost good enough for league leadership. And he would finish the season 12-6 with a 3.41 ERA in real life. Tom Hankey is your closer. He is way over his ERA, which was 2.91 in the regular season in 1993. And he's got 11 saves to lead the ball club. And everybody else on the staff has ERAs in the 4s and 5s, except for a couple of specialty relievers, Chris Carpenter and Jeff Bronke coming in at 3.00. So that is where we stand statistically with the Rangers. Let's take a look at the Rangers' action for this fortnight, June 16th through the 30th. Now, the Rangers had a limited schedule. They only had 2 home series for a total of 6 games. And let's bring on the score sheet. The month began with, or the fortnight began with the Oakland A's coming to town, and it was really more of the same nonsense that we saw at the beginning of the month with lousy pitching by the Rangers. And beginning of the month, Pavlik got torched by the A's for 9 runs in 5 innings. And despite Texas' attempts to come back, they couldn't get the job done. Oakland put up 4 runs in the first on a 2-run double by Mike Aldretti and a 2-run homer by Ruben Sierra. It looked like Ron Darling would have an easy time of it for Oakland, but Darling pulled a hamstring and left the game in the 3rd inning. On came Kelly Downs for Oakland, and Texas jumped on him for 5 runs in the 3rd to tie the game at 6. But Pavlik turned around and coughed up 3 more runs in the 4th, and the A's cruised on to victory as Dennis Eckersley closed the door for his 12th save of the season. So a lousy outing for Kelly Downs, but he gets the victory in this one. Home runs for the A's for Sierra and Troy Neal, and number 25 on the season for Juan Gonzalez. June 26th, it was more of the same, as the Rangers again got drubbed, this time by a score of 15-7. Rumors were swirling in Dallas that the Rangers pitching staff had a betting ring going to see which of them could give up the most runs in the month of June. And today it was Charlie Leibrandt who took his shot. He coughed up 6 runs in 5 2/3 innings to put Texas in a 6-1 hole. The Rangers offense battled back against Bob Welch, scoring 3 runs in the 5th and 3 more in the 6th to take a 7-6 lead. That didn't sit well with Chris Carpenter. He came into the game for Texas and proceeded to give up 5 more runs in the 8th to flush away the lead and the ballgame. Kevin Seitzer hit 2 home runs for Oakland, scored 5 runs, and drove in 4. Kelly Downs had another lousy outing, managed to give up the lead and hang around long enough to pick up the win in relief for Oakland. Finally, on June 27th, it took the venerable Nolan Ryan to end the skid for Texas. Ryan held Oakland to 2 runs on 2 hits in 7 2/3 innings, despite walking 7. Another home run for Juan, actually 2 more home runs for Juan Gonzalez, his 3rd and 4th of the series. Gonzalez's 2nd homer of the game tied it in the 7th, and RBI singles by Doug Strange and David Hulse provided the winning margin for the A's, before Tom Henke came on in the 9th to pick up his 12th save of the season. So the Rangers get a win to close out the series against Oakland. And next up comes to town the Kansas City Royals. Oopsie daisy. I don't know what's happening here. I cannot get the... There we go. My bad. So on June 28th, it was a 2-run homer by Rafael Palmeiro in the bottom of the 7th that brought the Rangers back from a 3-2 deficit. And this time, Texas was able to capitalize and gain the victory. Kevin Brown pitched into the 8th, scattering 11 hits, but keeping his team close. The Royals threatened in the 8th, but Dean Palmer made a brilliant defensive play to cut off the tying run at the plate and preserve the win for Texas, as Todd Burns came on in the 9th to save that one in relief. June 29th, the Rangers picked up another victory. Kenny Rogers pitched perhaps his best game of the season. He gave up a 2-run homer in the 1st to Gary Gaetti, but then Rogers settled down and pitched into the 8th to earn the victory. Meanwhile, the Rangers offense beat up on 10-game winner Kevin Appier to the tune of 11 hits and 9 runs. Rafael Palmeiro crushed a grand slam in the 6th inning to put it out of reach for the Rangers. And on June 30th, the Royals brought David Cone to the mound. Cone pitched a 2-hit shutout in the series finale to allow the Royals to avoid the sweep. Craig Lefferts started for Texas, didn't pitch badly, but couldn't keep up with David Cone, as Cone went the distance. 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 7 Ks. And Lefferts hung around for 6 innings, gave up only 1 earned run, but that was enough to take the defeat. And no home runs were hit in that game. So that was your Rangers week in review. Texas goes 3-3 for the fortnight, and they currently stand at a record of 36-34, which is actually 5 games better than where the Rangers stood through 70 games in the real 1993 season. All right, that's your recap for the week. Coming up this week will be the games of July the 1st through the 15th. And it's a light week. The Rangers are on the road this whole time, so there will be no Rangers games this coming week. The Reds have a 4-game set at home against the Pittsburgh Pirates on July 2 through 5, and then they hit the road. So there will only be 4 games of Strat played this week. And it will be the Reds versus the Pirates to recap next week. So that wraps things up here from the Dave Cave for this week's recap of a busy week in the Historical Baseball Project 1993 replay. Thank you for everybody who is checking out this broadcast. That's our stream, and I am out of here.